Every headline you see is a smokescreen distracting from the atrocities you heard about yesterday. You are being gaslit by a system designed to keep you blind. Welcome to Political Malpractice. Open your eyes, see the frauds behind the curtain, dismantle the illusion.
Before we dive into today's topic, I want to give everyone a clear heads up. We are dedicating this entire episode to the Epstein files, which means we are going to be having heavy, detailed conversations about child sexual assault. If this is a difficult or triggering topic for you, please protect your peace and feel free to sit this one out. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Welcome back to Political Malpractice. It is me, Sasha, your host, and Mr. Chris Barrett. We are bringing you guys a midweek-ish, I guess I'll publish it midweek, episode. We wanted to focus on the Epstein files, especially now that we've had, the DOJ delete some files, then they magically reappear with new redactions. We've got depositions that are starting to happen. And I think it's time we really start talking about it. Everything we've approached so far has been like, oh my God, what's happening with the country? Whereas the Epstein files are a little bit slower to evolve. So have you seen, I know you haven't looked at the files, Chris, but have you watched any of the depositions?
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, it's obviously a bunch of powerful people just trying to protect themselves and each other and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I'll just say, to me, they weren't like earth shattering, really.
No. They were infuriating more than anything.
Right.
So let's kind of start digging and talking about what the House Oversight Committee is doing and who the hell they are, right? Like, who's on this stupid committee? I watched Hillary Clinton's deposition first.
Yeah, I did see
And
hers for
there
sure,
was,
the whole thing.
yeah, I watched hers first. She's obviously younger than Bill and Lex Wexner, so her responses were a little quicker,
Right.
and things kind of flowed better than they did with Bill and with Lex Wexner. But there were points. One, let me just say, I'm super irritated that whenever any of the committee members would, say their name or introduce themselves, it was redacted. You can Google a list of committee members. So why are we redacting names? What's the point?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting too. I mean, personally, it just shows that too many people are trying to seek outlets for plausible deniability. Oh no, that wasn't me. I didn't
Yep.
ask that question.
Yep. It
I mean, I
the
think that's
only
exactly what's going on there.
the only two people who I could readily identify when asking questions were Lauren Boebert, because she's screaming into the damn
Mhm,
microphone in every fucking deposition. She is
mhm.
screaming. And then
I do
Nancy
love her
Mace.
voice. Just kidding.
Oh God. Ugh. Oh,
Just
okay.
kidding.
No, I have a beef about who we have on this committee, but let's kind of go through it, right? So
Oh yeah.
the
So then
majority
Nancy Mace.
Nancy Mace was a little better than a Lauren Boebert, but not much. It's not something that if I were her, I'd go bragging about. On the Republican side of the committee, we have 5 lawyers. That's it. I want to say they've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, maybe 24. Oh, probably closer to like 30 people in the majority. And then minority for the Democrats, I haven't counted. Looks like maybe there's about 20. but the Democrats have in total 10 lawyers. So
Mm,
when we're doing depositions, these depositions are under penalty of perjury. The transcripts can be used in court. If Lex Wexner said, I don't know, I kicked Nancy Mace off of Epstein's plane. Not saying he did. I'm just saying it as an example, right? And then later in trial, Lex Wessner testifies and he said, Nancy Mace was never on the plane. We'd be able to pull those transcripts and show that you're lying, right?
all right.
Um, so while I get that this isn't a traditional legal deposition, you have to understand, and this is for the people that are asking questions, these people being deposed are sitting with their lawyers. Their lawyers are rightly going to object to questions that are not proper. The federal rules of evidence have nothing to do with these depositions, but you still reserve your objection in case these things are used later in court. And my God, yes, there were frequent objections, to things that are hearsay, stating facts out of evidence, talking about, documents that just can't be verified. There was a ton of objections. But man, Lauren Boebert opens her mouth and objections are flying like crazy left, right, and center. I was getting super irritated. You put someone like her on the committee and it starts looking like a clown show.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's not the brightest bulb on the tree, that's for sure. I mean, at least in how she
Right?
presents herself. I mean, maybe she's intelligent. I don't know. I'm not going to make a judgment call there, but I mean, at least how she presents herself is terrible. And you have been talking about Nancy Mace. I mean, as far as Nancy Mace is concerned, I mean, I know that she is like a very intelligent woman for sure, and that's probably why she didn't sound like the ass that Lauren Boebert sounded like. Not to say that Nancy Mace doesn't like to cuss like a sailor, but I mean, she's
Well,
she's got some intelligence going on there, regardless of personal problems, because I know about all that too. But
right. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not one to judge on cussing,
yeah,
clearly, right? Um, and Nancy Mace said several times throughout, I think it was Hillary's deposition, that she is a survivor of sexual assault herself. So,
right.
no doubt for her, this was very, very triggering.
Oh, it
And I
is.
get
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure it
I
is.
get that it's triggering. And it, at least the Republicans were acting, some of them, clearly Lauren Boebert was, under the directive from Trump, you better get, Hillary and Bill Clinton. You better investigate them.
Right.
Okay. So his statements about them better you guys better investigate the Clintons, plus the way that Lauren Boebert was asking the questions that she was asking, makes this into a farce. And I feel
Oh,
like
it is. Yeah.
it flies in the face of the victims that you're saying you're trying to help.
Hmm.
Let's have some decorum. Let's talk like adults. At one point with I think it I think it was Bill Clinton. She was quoting an article that had only quoted like 5 words from an entire paragraph statement that he had given them. So they parsed it. And then she tried to parse it more to paint a different picture. And I don't disagree with her. We'll start going through the timeline and all that. I think Bill Clinton did something. He did something. So I don't blame her for trying to pull that gotcha, but at what expense? You
Well,
know?
I mean, look, I mean, we need to get to the bottom of this, and you know, uh, wasn't it Trump himself who said something regarding the Epstein files before we knew even as much as we do now? Said something about like that it would take the whole government down.
It was Bondi that said that
Oh,
if we
that was
went and
it.
prosecuted based on the files, that it
Yes,
would collapse
Pam
the government.
Bondi. Yes, I totally forgot about that. And
Yeah.
for some reason I thought it was Trump. But yeah, Pam Bondi said that. And I'm fine with that. Burn the
Yeah.
motherfucker down. Burn the
If
motherfucker down. And I
if
don't see
our
why more
government
conservatives aren't saying that, but there are a lot who
exactly.
are. No, there's a lot who
Yes.
are. I mean, because I have a pretty large conservative following on X. And so there certainly are a lot who are saying these things, but not enough are evidently saying
No,
it.
it
The ones who, like me, are saying it.
yeah, I think once we had the bulk of 3 million files released and people really started to dig and started to talk about the more salacious parts of it, I think a large chunk of
Yes.
MAGA was like, "Whoa, this is wrong," and that's when they started jumping off the MAGA wagon. Um,
Yeah.
but I, s- I've been sitting here for the better part of today pulling names that so far we have verified from the Epstein files. So, of course, at the top, we have Trump. He's mentioned more than 5,700 times. He flew on the plane 8 times in the 90s. Even though in 2024, he said he was never on Epstein's plane. Epstein's
And
biographer, yep, Epstein's biographer played a tape for the Daily Beast. There was some podcast, I guess, that the Daily Beast does, and they had Epstein's biographer on there. And in the tape, Epstein is heard saying that he was Trump's closest friend for 10 years. He told the story of how the first time bleh, Trump and Melania slept together was on the Lolita Express. So he has been on that thing. When Epstein's biography came out, it was called Fire and Fury.
mhm.
Trump initially sent a cease and desist to the writer of the book, dropped that, it went nowhere. Then he threatened to sue, but he never sued. So to me, that speaks tons and tons. You know, this guy sues everybody.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
He-
um, as far as Trump is concerned, I mean, I have my doubts that we're going to find anything out while he's still president because, he can pull enough
no,
strings to get
yeah.
stuff done. Other players are going to probably fall well before he does.
Oh, yeah.
Um, the main thing is, and I know that we have other people to talk about, but still just kind of like a little bit of a blanket statement here. I really hope that this does not end up becoming something like the JFK assassination, which remember, guys, happened in what, 1961? And so, and the government did such a shit job of handling that. They released little bits of information here and there over the decades.
Hmm.
And now there's still wild conspiracy theories going on. Hell, I'm not even sure. Maybe they're not conspiracy theories. Maybe they're right, because
It.
the government has been so shady in how it has dealt with that. And I'm afraid that the same
Hmm.
shit's going to happen here.
I kind of think now that you mentioned it, thinking back to the early 2000s, then to the most recent, indictment and arrest right before he supposedly killed himself. Um, I feel like it kind of was initially handled by the FBI like the Kennedy assassination. They served up Jeffrey and Ghislaine on a platter and expected America to just be satisfied.
Right,
You know,
right. Yeah.
sure, he's the one that led it all, but his money came from somewhere, you know?
Right. Yeah.
From
Yeah.
from what little from what little I've been able to gather about him, he just kind of like conned his way into the money that he has and the position that he's in.
Right. Well, um, I think that. Well, as far as like, the broader picture, of course, Epstein and Galil were, like you said, served up on a platter. They were the sacrificial lamb for sure, or the scapegoat,
Hmm.
I guess would probably be the better way of putting it. So they were the scapegoat. And a lot of people hope for that. And those pesky rumors did not go away and all that type of stuff. And so here we are today. I do, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, I really do think that this could probably bring down the government and probably the reason that we're not seeing so much advancement on this is because Democrats are protecting themselves and Republicans are protecting themselves. So the Republican Party, I think, really is protecting itself here because people
Hmm.
will lose total faith in Democrats and Republicans. Perfect opportunity for new parties to arise.
Yep.
And they hate that
And
thought.
and if that's what has to happen, then new parties need to come up. You
Yep.
know, the two-party system is what Washington himself was terrified of happening for this country, because then
Right.
you run into the bullshit that we've got now. You know,
Hmm.
it becomes one side versus the other instead of having a true round table government that represents everybody. So,
Right.
a couple more names that were on there. We've got Bill Clinton. He flew on the
Yep.
plane 27 times.
I'm sure
Um,
that was just an
Hil-
accident.
right. In his deposition, he said that the only reason he flew on the plane is because he had just started the Clinton Foundation, and I don't know, I guess they didn't have a plane for the foundation, or they don't have their own plane like the Clintons to use. So Jeffrey, who had a plane, said, "Hey, you guys can use mine. If there's like these long international legs that I'm going to end up being on, the only thing I want is, to have like an hour of Bill's time to talk about politics and things like that." Um,
Yeah,
I don't
but
buy it.
the thing with Bill Clinton is, I mean, Donald Trump has admitted that he knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a perv. Okay.
He did
So he's
say.
a
He did
he
say.
he totally admitted that. So I also have a very hard time believing that Bill Clinton did not know about this as well. So I'm sorry if I was in Bill Clinton's shoes and I was trying to get my foundation off the ground and I needed to fly to all different places. The last person's plane that I would charter is a fucking billionaire pedophile,
Yeah, exactly.
so, like I said, I mean, we don't know for sure, I guess, that Bill Clinton knew this information, but like I said, I have a hard time believing that if Donald Trump knew it, then of course Bill Clinton knew it too. Lots of
Yeah.
people knew it.
It we're going to run through these names, and then I'm going to talk about Lex Wessner's deposition. I want to see any bank account that he could possibly have access to, because he set everybody up with the perfect alibi. And we'll talk about that, because that like was just alarm bells in my head when he was doing his deposition. So we've got, of course, Hillary Clinton is mentioned. She claims that she never met the guy. She like had a facial recognition with Ghislaine Maxwell, only because Ghislaine was supposedly dating some computer guy that was friend of the family. Marvin Minsky, I haven't heard that name pop up anywhere, but he was some scientist. But Virginia Giuffre, in her deposition, named Marvin Minsky as one of her abusers. And apparently,
Right.
this guy was a friend of Ghislaine. Lex Wessner is named over 200 times. Um, Sultan Ahmad bin Sulayem, he is mentioned over 4,700 times. So, based off the count and from what I could find in Google searching, Trump is mentioned the most, and then the Sultan is the one that's mentioned second. There was a series of emails where people's names were redacted unless it was Jeffrey's. And Apparently, it was Jeffrey was responding to the Sultan in an email where he said, "I loved the torture video." And it
Right.
what the hell?
Refresh my memory. What country is the Sultan from?
I have no idea whatever country sultans are from. Let's look.
I don't know. Is it United Arab Emirates? I think it is the UAE.
Emirati businessman. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's the UAE then. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I just couldn't remember off the top of my head. I don't know. I mean, I could put in a little dig at Islam on that one, but I'll refrain.
I mean, one of Muhammad's wives is supposedly 9 years old. So,
That was
um,
the dig that I was gonna put in. You did it.
I did it. I'll do it. I have no respect for any religion, so I will throw digs when it comes to religions.
Right.
This guy, apparently uh there's a clump of emails in there where the conversation is back and forth between the Sultan and Jeffrey. And he said, making plans about going to the island, sharing, like, I know Bob Smith, who's this politician. Here's his number, call him, things like that, going back and forth. And
Right.
then the communications are from before and after he was convicted. So, not that I'm giving anybody any cover, if you have any association with this guy, I think it's incumbent on you to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were not harming children and that you had no clue that children were harmed. I mean,
Right.
growing up, my mom always said, be careful who your friends are. Birds of a feather flock together. Well, that shit is going to land here. Birds of a feather
Yeah.
flock together. And if you were friendly with Epstein, you're a pedophile until you're proven otherwise. It's that fucking simple.
Sure. Well,
You know?
I mean, I think that that's the whole issue here. It's like we need to really be holding these people accountable, and I can't remember the exact names, but over the past couple of weeks, I've seen a couple of Americans here and there getting in trouble over the Epstein stuff. Again,
Mhm.
like I said, I can't remember the names, but it's been mostly foreign people, and I think it's because our government is doing and this guys is why I am like middle of the road because the Democrats and the Republicans are playing cover for each other on this shit.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I've had to do a lot of really hard, mirror staring, to drop the knee jerk reaction of it's not Democrats, it's Republicans. Because that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what party you're from. These women are saying what happened to them.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I don't care what your excuse is as to why you called Jeffrey or why you emailed him or why fucking Ghislaine Maxwell was at your daughter's wedding, Hillary Clinton. I don't give
Right.
a shit. You are associated with the most disgusting pedophiles. Go live on the moon. Maybe, Elon Musk will actually not be a dick and figure out a way to get to Mars. And because he's in these files, him and everybody else can go live on Mars. Get the fuck off Earth, and Earth will be much better. You know?
I'm down with
Um
that.
the Americans, so we've got Larry Summers. He resigned as a professor and co-director at Harvard, and he left the board of OpenAI. Um, Kathy Rumler, I think is how you say her name, but she resigned as chief legal officer from Goldman Sachs after emails showed that she had a friendly relationship with, I believe it was Epstein. We've got Brad Karp. He stepped down as chair of the law firm Paul Weiss, Rifkind, Wharton, and Garrison. Oop, too many freaking names. Thomas Pritzker was hired as the executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels. Casey Wasserman, he had a talent agency. He put that up for sale following the old emails coming up. It so he had a modeling agency, and that's how they would get these girls, was through the modeling agencies. Ghislaine
Mhm.
would go to Eastern Europe and tell these girls, you know, "Oh, come to America. You're so pretty. I'm going to make you a model, blah, blah, blah." And she would disappear them into the US and they would become their sex slaves, you know? So, yeah, Casey Wasserman needs to deal with himself. Sell your agency, donate that money to the victims, and you get yourself gone. Peter
Alright.
Attia Peter Attia resigned as a contributor to CBS News and from positions at two health tech firms. David Ross resigned as chair of the MFA art practice program at the School of Visual Arts. George J. Mitchell resigned as honorary chair of the Mitchell Institute. And Joanna Rubinstein resigned as chair of Sweden for the UN Refugee Agency. So those are the Americans that nobody's done anything about, even though they have voluntarily stepped down from their position.
Right,
If somebody says
yeah, well,
if someone
I
says I
think
did
that
something wrong,
yeah, you might wanna look into it, I mean, at least take people for face value or something like that. But
it
well,
if
I guess
someone
where
said
I'm sorry.
it's okay, but I'm just gonna say, if someone said that I did something wrong,
Mhm.
I'm not just gonna quit my job and walk away if I didn't do it. If I
Right.
didn't do it, I'm fighting tooth and nail to prove that I didn't do it.
When we get down to the Clinton associates and stuff like that, I definitely do have kind of a interesting thought. And when I was going through what we were going to be talking about, guys, this just something that kind of like popped into my mind from the past because I am the old fart on the show. So I do kind of remember some older shit. But it brought back some certain memories, and now certain things are starting to make sense.
Yeah. We've got Salvatore Nuara. No clue who that is. Google search didn't give me any information. Zurab Mikhaladze, no information. Leonik Leonov, no information. Nicola Caputo is also an Italian politician. But when that name came out of the files, he took to social media and he said, "Oh, that's not me. That's just someone else with my name." What the fuck ever, dude. Hopefully Italy does something about him. Christopher Poole, the founder of 4chan, is listed
Mhm,
in there. There's some communications with him, and he's the founder of 4chan. I'm not surprised. Of
mhm.
course, you're a fucking perv. 4chan and 8chan are full of fucking pervs. So that
Oh,
fits.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely fits. There's Jean-Luc Brunel. When
Yeah.
Epstein died, he got $5 million from Epstein, and he happened to have been arrested in 2020 for the rape and trafficking of minors. He killed himself in jail. So, like I said,
Oh,
birds of a
mm,
feather.
locked together.
Mhm. And then, of course, the former Prince Andrew. Um, Apparently there is, like, more evidence that he did send government files to Epstein. Um, and then, of course, there's photos of him with women, is what all the articles are
Yeah.
saying. And it's not women. A 17-year-old girl is a girl. She's not a young woman. When we are talking about pedophiles and sexual abuse, she's a fucking girl. Point blank, period. And if you're a
Yeah,
60-year-old man and you're screwing an 18-year-old, that 18-year-old girl too.
yeah, I mean, the thing is like, people, even wasn't even Megan Kelly was kind of like, well, there's a difference between someone who's interested in a teenager and someone interested in like, a prepubescent child.
Yep.
Okay, fine. I guess maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know because I don't have these sick thoughts. So it's like it would just be a total guess to me whether that's true or not. But I'm like, okay, I guess I can get the logic that you're going down, but it's like, bitch, we have established an age of majority in this country. And so
Yep.
I don't really fucking care that you think that fucking a 17-year-old if you're 25 is better than him going fucking 8-year-old. I'm sorry,
Right.
that's disgusting all the way around. We have laws for a reason to prevent that from happening.
And the fact that she made that statement, like, I've never liked Megyn Kelly, that solidified the fact that she needs to burn in hell. It's disgusting. You don't
Mhm.
justify. And yes, okay, Megyn Kelly, there's different words for men who are sexually attracted to prepubescent, pubescent and toddlers and newborns. Yes, they all have different words because that's how science is,
Right.
right? But it is all disgusting at the end of the fucking day. It is
Yes, it
all
is.
disgusting. When you are nasty ass old Lex Wexner paying to have sex with a 17-year-old, you're fucking gross. Get an
Yes, you are.
escort who's 21, 22, and able to make these decisions legally. She'll accept your money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just amazed me when Megan Kelly came out with that and said that, and I'm just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
because she has been so strong on certain women's issues. Like sometimes she almost came out and sounded like a feminist because I listen to her show regularly.
Hmm.
And anyway, for her to have said that, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Megan? Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she's gone down this weird road with Tucker Carlson. We don't have to go down that. But,
Hmm.
it's like they're, I don't know. I mean, it's, I would be concerned if I was someone like Megan Kelly saying something like that because, God, it makes you almost sound like you're covering up something.
Is she in the list? I mean,
I
maybe we
don't
need to start
think
looking at that.
so. Yeah, I don't think
It
so.
I wouldn't be surprised with that kind of justification. I would not be surprised at all,
Well, I think that she was
you
playing
know?
politics, but she was just doing a very sloppy job of playing politics
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's not the bullshit that people want to hear. I really don't think that there's absolutely anything that Megyn Kelly has probably done wrong in relation to this, but she's making herself sound really bad by saying that type shit,
Yeah,
you know? And
yeah.
I'm like, girl, I know that you have better aspects to you. Why don't you let that shit shine and let this go?
It Stop kissing ass to this administration. I mean,
Right.
is she waiting for Caroline Levitt to pop out her old man baby so that maybe Megyn Kelly can get the position? Who the fuck knows? Um, there was a whole bunch of names that were released on
Oh,
top of
yeah.
the ones that we went over, and I couldn't verify. A lot of them were female names, and I couldn't verify who they were or verify that they weren't victims. So I'll save those until I've had time to run through them because, God, if one of those is a victim, I don't want to put it on the show.
Oh, yeah, that makes
That's
total
crossing a
sense.
line.
Yeah, for sure, for
That's
sure.
crossing a line. It's for them to come out themselves. Um, Talking about the depositions. So we're getting to where I'm going to talk
Yes.
about Lex Wexner. I hate his fucking name. His mom should have named him Bob Smith. Um,
Should have named him Lex Lessler.
right.
For
So,
some reason, that's
um,
easier to say.
it is. So we have Lex Wexner's deposition, and his was the first in time to have been released on video, right? And then Bill and Hillary Clinton fought their subpoena. And they said when they finally capitulated, they were like, okay, we'll do it, but it needs to be live. Everybody needs to watch it. And for whatever freaking reason, the committee wouldn't agree to that. So the whole agreement was like, we'll record it and then put it out as soon as we can. Um, there were depositions of former U.S. Attorney General William Barr and former U.S. Attorney General Alex Acosta. The videos of these were not released. You have to do some hunting to get the transcripts. Like the one for Alex Acosta is supposedly on the House Committee's website. And try as I may, I kept clicking that damn thing and it would take me to a Google page that just gave me that 404 error. It's not here. The document's not here. You
Oh
know,
my god,
so
they're gonna want you to file like a FOIA request or some shit like
well,
that in order to get it done.
I I ended up finding his transcript through I want to say it was Al Jazeera. They had like on their own servers the transcript.
Mm.
So I was able to skim through it. I need to put it into like some AI reader so that it can read to me while I drive because that's heavy to read through. Um,
Yeah.
but I couldn't find what the reason was for those guys to not have their deposition recorded and put out for everybody to see. This is our fucking business. This is
Oh yeah,
our
for sure.
fucking business.
You know,
Our
anyone who
politicians
is
were involved in this shit.
yep, anyone who is working under a professional capacity, I mean, yeah. I mean, hell, I remember when I was a kid, I thought Bill Clinton should have been ejected from the presidency just for the simple fact that I was like, why the fuck are you doing this shit in the White House? I was a teenager and thought that, you know? And
Yeah.
without any influence from my parents, 'cause my parents were like fucking hippie kids. They didn't give a shit. But I was kind of like, nah, not on my dime. You shouldn't be doing this shit, motherfucker. You know, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing. We need to be looking at these people the same way because what I said, I'm sure lots of Republicans would have agreed with. But step outside of your fucking bubble, guys. These people need to be questioned just the same way and have the exact same type of stuff spread all over the place.
Yeah. You know, Bill Clinton used his position of power to take advantage of Monica Lewinsky. And even if, let's say, right, let's look at this, let's pretend like we're believing Bill's fucking story here, right?
Mhm.
She wanted it, there was no coercion, bullshit, 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 right? It doesn't fucking matter. Even
Yep.
if in that moment she wanted to have that relationship with you or have that encounter with you, you are still in a position of power. She is now, should she ever regret it or ever start dating somebody and maybe he gets like some weird jealousy deal, he is in a position of power over her. And that
Mhm.
puts her, you know, in a horrible place. If you are in a position of power, you screw your wife. That's it. You screw your husband. That's it. No affairs for you until you're no longer in a position of power. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I remember um it was kind of funny because I mean I remember it well. I mean certain far right Christians and stuff did come out about the adultery aspect and everything. But I mean, you know, even to me, you know, young gay man, you know, I still, I guess you could say, you know, longed for an idea of monogamy. And I will say, even to me, the fact that he even cheated on his wife was just enough for me to be like, nah, go away, you
But
know?
that's what cracks me up. There are so many Republicans that wanted Clinton out because he
Yep.
cheated on his wife, and the American president should never do such a thing. But they voted for Trump. He is known to cheat on his spouses.
Yeah, I know.
What the
And
fuck?
and I'll tell you what, I mean, I was if I had had the chance to go back and talk to my past self would have been really disappointed in my future self or present self by going along with that. And I really wish that a lot of Republicans would take the time to be that introspective. I mean, I'm actually almost in tears right now because I can't believe what I did, what I went along with.
It we'll talk about that. There is a science behind the way that he got elected the first time. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Um, do I think
But
that
I
a
just
lot of
wish they'd be
people
willing to look at their own people and be honest
yeah,
about it, you know?
it do I think that a lot of people just tucked their moral compass in their pocket? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. If I don't look at the moral compass, it's not gonna tell me I'm doing the wrong thing, and I'm gonna just do it. Um, so there were those 2 depositions that we only have transcripts. What pissed me off, and I had no clue that this had happened until I listened to Hillary's deposition.
Mm.
In Hillary's deposition, she kind of chewed out the committee because they started giving her shit. Why didn't you want to come in? You didn't want to come in and do the deposition. What's the problem? What do you have to hide? And she was like, wait, 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 wait. I didn't want to come in and do this deposition because former U.S. Attorneys General Eric Holder, Merrick Garland, Jeff Sessions, and Alberto Gonzalez, as well as the former FBI Director James Comey, were allowed to get sick notes from their lawyers. Their lawyers received the questions from the House committee, supposedly talked to these guys, and then wrote a letter saying, yeah, they said they had no idea. They didn't know that Jeffrey Epstein was abusing these kids. They didn't know that Jeffrey Epstein is accused by these victims of killing babies, of killing other little girls. Yeah, they had no clue that was happening. Cool, thanks for asking us questions. And that was it. That was Hillary's reason. Why were they allowed to do this? Why were they, people that are Republican, allowed to have their lawyers write a fucking sick note, but you're dragging me in here for this shit because President
Right.
Trump said to do it.
Well,
And that was
okay,
her beat.
obviously well, I guess I kind of get it, but I don't, because, here's the thing, obviously, what they got away with was not appropriate. So, all the Republican people that you were talking about, no, of course, that's not appropriate. So, I mean, I'm not defending that. But, if I'm looking at it from the perspective of Hillary Clinton sitting there saying, like, well, they got away with it. Why can't I? Just
I,
makes you look really fucking
oh, yeah.
guilty of something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're innocent, you should be at the front of the line saying, I'll do a deposition. Depose me.
You
Depose
got
me.
it.
I will tell
You
you
got it.
everything I know, which is
You,
absolutely nothing, but I'll fucking tell you, you know?
right.
Um, so the whole like, you didn't punish my brother for not eating his vegetables. Why are you punishing me? Is bullshit.
Yeah.
But I'm glad she said it because I know that I wasn't the only person that didn't know that these people just got a sick note from their lawyers.
Oh, no, no, no. Like I said, I mean, that was completely inappropriate. And I understood, you know, like I said, to a degree, but, I only understand to the degree that it's like, well, yeah, you're a guilty person trying to protect themselves. That at least
Hmm.
that's, I can't say that I know that for sure, but I'm just saying that, that's what it appears as when you're doing something
Yeah.
like that. It's like,
Oh, yeah, it does.
don't worry about what happened to everybody else. Worry about what's happening to you, honey. You
Worry
know?
about yourself.
Yeah,
Worry about yourself.
exactly.
Um, Now, I don't know. Maybe she was trying to do it to get the committee to say, like, oh, okay, you guys have to come in too. Like, Hillary's got a good point, whatever. But worry about yourself. There was
Yeah,
a
that
cute
that's kind of
little,
where I'm coming. coming at it from. It's like, yeah, worry about
Yeah.
yourself. Don't worry about everybody else.
Yeah. Um, they are currently oh no, we're not even done with this. So they did issue a subpoena to former FBI Director Robert Mueller, and
Right.
his family said, "Oh, he's got Parkinson's. He can't do that." Excuse me? Does he not have a voice? Does Parkinson's affect his ears? Fuck yes, he can do this. They didn't even
Yeah.
have his lawyers write a sick note. The committee just said, "Oh, you've got Parkinson's. Okay, sorry." Like, I understand if it was a stage 4 terminal cancer, then maybe we can like phone it in or we could do a Zoom deposition, but you don't get out of this. This isn't a fucking
No.
geometry test.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Eh,
I mean, Mueller definitely should have been called in. And it does. See, here's the thing, though. What's so stupid about it is like how I was talking about, like the John F. Kennedy thing and the government handling things so poorly. So, no wonder there's all sorts of
right.
different rumors out there. It's the same thing. The thing is people like Eric Holder and Merrick Garland, James Comey and Jeff Sessions and Alberto Gonzalez and Robert Mueller are all going to be seen as people who probably knew something and just
Yeah.
didn't do anything about it.
And
Because we don't really know what they said. Well, with the exception of like William Barr and stuff like that, but we don't know what they said
what I think is worse
or what they had to
is
say, I should say.
it I think that they are horrible, disgusting people for not coming and answering questions and furthering this clown show of a fucking investigation because that's what it's become. Um, Come and answer the goddamn questions. I am more
Right.
mad at the people on the committee. You're not going to hold them in contempt. You're not going to try to force the issue. You're just going to say, "Oh, okay, you don't want to. All right, we'll just let your lawyers write a sick note." Fuck you. Fuck
Right.
all of them for not
And
pushing
then
this.
that's going to leave decades now of all sorts of speculation and stuff like that within this
Yep.
country, which I mean, I think that that type of stuff is detrimental to the long-term survivorship of our country.
Yes.
We need to know this shit.
Yes.
We need to know this. So, so I mean, to me, it's a huge deal that these idiots were given a fucking pass.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember being young and thinking that our government was so great and so strong and we protected people all around the world and all this kind of bullshit, you know? As I got older, that those rose-colored glasses of childhood slowly got scratched and scuffed and pieces of lens started to fall out of the frame.
Right.
If there was any semblance of that rose-colored glass left in the frame now, this definitely blew it out of the water,
Right. Yeah,
because
for sure.
come on, you guys want to be taken seriously? Fuck Lauren Boebert and her asinine questions.
Right.
This is some bullshit, you know? Um, they're attempting to get depositions from Leslie Groff, Sarah Kellen, Bill Gates, Howard Lutnick, Catherine Rumler, Doug Band, and Toby Noel. Um, who knows? Howard Lutnick, we're probably not going to get anything from because he's tucked up under daddy's, diaper. He's got some protection there. Um, Running through, so Trump's associates that were named in the Epstein files, and this is the whole birds of a feather, right? We've got
Mhm.
Melania, Ivanka, Ivana, Tiffany, and Robert Trump. 5 of his family members are in these files. Steve Bannon who, according to the email communications in the files, Steve was talking to Epstein to see if he could make a deal with Epstein to create a documentary to fix Epstein's reputation. You sick fuck. You wanted to do a
Again,
cleanup
this is like
documentary?
this is another admission, you know, to
Yeah,
me. It's just
yeah,
another admission that something wrong was going on. And it is kind of
yes.
funny that the clearest admissions, as far as I'm concerned, have actually come from the Trump administration.
It,
But, you know, but I think they're accidental. Yeah.
oh, yeah. It, I think the lies are so pervasive. They don't know what they've said, what they need to stick with. They can't do it now. They have lied so fucking much. They can't keep it straight. We've got Elon Musk who's in the emails. And I was listening to some podcast. I forget what podcast it even was. But they were reading these emails that Musk had sent in between him and I don't know, one of Epstein's assistants and him and
Mhm.
Epstein. And he is basically begging to party with them, begging to party. You know, in one of the emails, he's talking about, like, oh, I've got my kids this weekend. What about next weekend? Like, are you fucking for real? You know, we already know you're a freak because you ship your sperm all over the fucking country to create all these kids. It bless his little toddler for telling Trump, like, you don't know what you're doing or something like that while picking his nose. Fucking amazing child. Fucking amazing. Too bad your father is Elon Musk because you're probably going to grow up into a dipshit. But I thought that was great. Um,
Right.
of course, Howard Lutnick is in there. Alex Acosta is an associate of Trump's. Kevin Warsh, Tom Barrack, Peter Thiel. He was supposedly invited to the island. There's nothing in there saying that, you know, whether or not he accepted, and he denies the acceptance. Carl
Well,
Icahn
I
and
mean,
mm,
it doesn't seem like it would exactly be the place that would appeal to Peter Thiel. Now, if we had gone to the island of, you know, 13-year-old boys, that may have been a different situation.
but that's the thing. There were boys in this. You know,
That's
there
true,
were
but I
boys.
mean, honestly, I mean, okay, Peter Thiel, if for some weird reason you or one of your representatives see this, I don't necessarily think that you did anything wrong. And as far as this was concerned, um, you know, I can believe that he didn't go. He's got a certain image to protect. And I think that he's very conscientious about it, you know, whereas some of these other yahoos, you know, aren't smart enough to figure that out.
It I don't know enough about Peter Thiel other than he's another disgusting, filthy rich man who helped Trump get elected.
He's a homosexual. And that's what I'm saying though. It's like, obviously what this island was known for, he probably wouldn't have been interested in anyway. But at the same time, I was just making a joke about the young boys because I don't want to disparage a man just because he's homosexual, you know?
Right.
And anyway, the I think though that the fact that he is a homosexual man, you know, I don't know what it is about us, but we do tend to, you know, kind of give a fuck what people think about us and stuff like that. And, you know, to a certain degree. And so, yeah, I couldn't imagine that he would risk everything on that. Do I like
Well,
Peter Thiel? No, I don't. But I, I followed him enough that I can't imagine him being stupid enough to get caught up in something like this. It'd be almost like Tim Cook being caught up in it.
it I don't know. I haven't looked closely. Before we do another one of these Epstein recordings, I'm gonna have to be able to really dig and name search, um, and see where he's mentioned. The last Trump associate that I was able to find that's in here is Brett Ratner. He directed the shit documentary Melania. And his
Oh, so
first
good. Oh my God, I gave that out to people for Christmas. I'm just kidding.
bleh. um it he's first mentioned in the files and is in photos starting in 2018. By that point, everybody knew what and who Epstein was. And that's when
Yeah.
Brett Ratner decides to waltz onto the scene. So at that
I mean, I
point,
guess
Brett,
it's possible Trump didn't know, but that he knew him necessarily, because I do kind of wonder if that is part of the plausible deniability, is that the amount of people who knew what other people were actually doing is kept to the minimum.
it so Lex Wexner does talk about that in his deposition. Let's run through the Clinton associates, and then we're going to talk about Lex Wexner's deposition because
Yeah.
he gives everybody a shield. So for Clinton associates, we've got Larry Summers, former secretary
Hmm.
under Clinton. There's a ton of mention of him all throughout these files. Mark Middleton, former White House aide and assistant to Clinton's chief of staff, he is the one that got Jeffrey in and out of the White House those 17 times. And Mark Middleton was also on Epstein's jet. Doug Band was personal aide to Bill, supposedly shared a BlackBerry with Bill, and is supposedly the reason why Clinton's name is even really mentioned in the files, because Doug was supposedly emailing. I don't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Cl-
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Clinton, yeah, Clinton in his deposition said that after he got out of the White House, he didn't have a cell phone. Fuck you, idiot! Yes, you did. Everybody and their mother had a cell phone as soon as cell phones were a thing. Yes, you did.
He got out of the
Um,
White House in what, 2001. Yeah, he left January 2001. I'm sorry,
mhm,
everybody fucking had a cell phone in 2001.
everyone. I was stationed in Korea in I'm trying to think. What year was 9/11?
It was 2001. So yeah, so
Okay.
George Bush was sworn
Yeah.
in January 2001, and then in September that happened. Yeah.
So I was stationed in Korea in 2002. Well, before being stationed in Korea, I had cell phones here in California. Then I went into the military. I got stationed in Korea. And guess what? The first fucking thing that I bought in Korea was a
A
fucking
cell
cell
phone.
phone.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody
I
had a
know.
damn cell phone.
It's
And
almost like
I
he's
will
trying to
say,
pretend that we were dinosaurs back in 2001. It's
exactly.
like,
And
no, dude.
in his deposition, he even tried to claim that to this day, he's never sent an email. Yeah, you have, dummy. Yeah, you have. Your
I
aide
did
is not
not see
emailing
that.
for
You're
you.
giving me new information here. I did not see that. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
He tried claiming that he has not ever sent an email. Like, are you trying to claim Arkansas dumb? Is that what you're trying to do? Hide behind,
Oh
you
my
know,
god.
hide behind the
Wow.
stereotype that is Arkansas? Come on. Come on. Admit
Yeah,
it.
it's ridiculous. Oh my god, I've got two really good friends in Arkansas. I need to talk to them, see what they think about this. I haven't talked to them in a little
It
bit.
shoot shoot them an email if they have that technology in Arkansas. You know, maybe call them
Well,
on their
last time I
landline
went
first.
down there, we went had to go by covered wagon.
I died when I heard him say that. So we've also got George Mitchell. He's the former Senate Majority Leader, and then he became Special Envoy to Northern Ireland. Catherine Rumler, she was White House counsel under Obama, but she was grouped into a bunch of emails anytime there's a discussion amongst Clinton associates with either Epstein or Maxwell.
Right.
We've got Lynn Forrester de Rothschild. I don't know,
Oh,
some
Rothschild.
rich person.
That's not going to fuel any sort of conspiracy.
They're like up there with the conspiracies, right?
Yes, they are. And
It-
finish what you're going to say, because I mean, it's a little bit of a detour, but like I said, it will make more sense once I finish my little story about the Clintons.
So in the deposition, Bill was asked a bunch of questions about various Rothschilds, right? Various people in that family. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know that one. I don't know that one." But he was like, "Oh, yeah, I know Lynn. Lynn's my friend. She's in the emails, stupid. Did you ask her to write an email for you since you don't know how to write an email? What the fuck?"
Yeah, yeah. The Rothschild, that is that was too good to be true when I saw that. I had forgotten. And then of course Chelsea Clinton
Yes.
also listed in there. Doesn't really surprise me. But talk about the last one, Casey Wasserman. That's kind of an interesting one to me.
Yeah. So he's the chairman of the 2028 LA Olympics. And in these files surfaced flirty email exchanges between him and Ghislaine. I'm sorry, because she's a pedophile and you flirted with her? Because,
All right.
he needs. I didn't see anywhere that he resigned from being the chairman of the Olympics. Um, Someone here in California needs to be like, bro, you're off the board. That's disgusting. Goodbye.
Yeah. Right.
You know? So there's our quick rundown of the who, what, when, where, why of the people in this.
Let me say something about the Clintons, though. So here's the
Do it.
thing. Yeah. Okay. So, child of the 90s, pretty much been middle of the road most of my life. Um, and, I've just kind of returned to what I've mostly done. So, anyway, I remember being interested in, conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And so, anyway, there was this documentary that came out and it talked about the Clinton body count, like how many people they knew had died under mysterious
Uh huh.
circumstances and all that type of stuff. And I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. So, I mean, I was probably like 17, 18 when I saw it. It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Well, as I got older, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh along with Air America Radio, if you remember that. That
Mm
was the lefty one. So I listened to both. Rush Limbaugh came right out on his show and declared that the Clintons had people murdered. If he was
I
lying,
remember.
if he was lying, they could have sued him. They never sued him.
I
These are some
remember. I
shady
remember.
fucking people. They are
Yeah.
shady fucking people.
Yeah.
The
It,
Clintons are evil as far as I'm concerned.
I think that Hillary is really fucking smart. The lawyer in her has never stopped being a lawyer. The entire time through her deposition, you can see her wheels turning, trying to, all right, they're asking me this question. What's the fifth question down the line going to be? And how am I going to answer it based off how I answer this? You could see her fucking wheels turning.
Hmm.
Um, Clinton, I think he was playing up the old and frail.
Mhm.
Half the time they ask him a question and he's sitting like this, like every
Yeah,
other
right.
old man in a nursing home, sitting there with his
And
mouth
he
agape.
was coached to do that because this whole
Yes.
thing, how he talks like that, that was coached. That was
Yes.
fucking coached.
Yes. So let us get to Lex Wessner. In the start of his deposition, oh, there was something weird outside. In the start of his deposition, he tries to be like this cute small town old man. One of the first questions was, tell us how you got your business started. You know, you're an old white dude who started Victoria's Secret. There's something up with that. You know, I don't, I don't know many men who think as an 8-year-old boy, I would like to start a high end, world renowned women's lingerie company. I don't know any boy who's ever thought that.
No, I'm sorry. Even as gay as I am, never been with a woman, nothing like that. Never crossed my mind to start a lingerie store.
No,
No. I mean,
no,
men's underwear, that's a totally different story.
right. But when he starts his story, he goes all the way back. My aunt, whoever the fuck her name is, I wanted to start a store, and my aunt gave me $5,000, and it was her life savings for me to start a store. So I started my first retail store, and then I got the second, and then I got the third. And he's doing this old man rambling bullshit. And I'm sitting there going, bro, you own Victoria's Secret and a whole bunch of other really successful fashion stores. Stop playing cute. You are a
Yeah.
savvy as fuck businessman. Stop playing cute. So that's the first thing
Right.
that irritated me. And all throughout these long ass 4 hours of depositions, um, he is kind of blaming everybody else. Well, no, you know, I didn't do my own books. I hired this person or I hired that person. And then he threw his fucking wife under the bus. I think her name is Abigail or something. My wife, Abigail, is a tax lawyer and she, did all that because she knows how to do all that. I don't. Shut the fuck up, old man. You are a savvy as fuck businessman. So they start asking him about Epstein. How did you meet Epstein? Epstein said that you were great friends. Well, I was never great friends with him. You know, um, we were on a friendly basis. I knew his name. Yeah, he had talked to me about business. No, I never sought out any, help from him on investments. But then he starts to hammer for like the last 2.5 hours of this deposition the con man that Epstein was. He is talking about how Epstein would say, Epstein would tell me that he's friends with this person and that person to try and ingratiate himself into my presence. And, Lex, I know this person and they do XYZ in business. I can connect you guys. I can make you that connection so that you can, diversify in this business or do this at that bank. I know all these people. And he flat out says, just how, like Epstein said that he was friends with all these people. And I believed him because what proof did I have to anything different? I think that's what Epstein did about everybody else. He just told other people that he was friends with these other people. He told people that he and I were great friends. I wasn't great friends with him. Who else did he do that for? So he gives
Yeah.
everybody the perfect setup. Yeah, just like Lex Wexner said, you know, Epstein told me that he was Lex Wexner's best friend. So I thought, well, sure, I'll let you invest my money. and, you know, pretending I'm whatever rich businessman, so I believed it. That's why when Epstein told person B that he was my best friend, they believed it just like I did, just like Lex Wexner did. Lex Wexner, I got some call from some businessman or whatever, someone at like Google or something like that. One of the Google heads had called Lex Wexner and told him, hey, I'm so and so, one of the heads of Google. Epstein told me that I should give you a call because you know something about, you have a connection to some company that like manufactures these rich people yachts. What do you think about, doing this, and that to a yacht? And Lex was like, I don't know. I don't build the yachts. I just know the company that makes the yachts. And that's what I told him. I don't build yachts. I don't know anything about building yachts. Do you want the company's phone number? And then Lex says, but how am I supposed to even know that that was the head of Google? Because it was just a phone call. Epstein could have impersonated him. Epstein's
I'll tell you what. Okay,
deposition.
first, yeah, I mean, it, man, if the American people only understood the difference in this club versus the rest of us, they all fucking know each other, at least tangentially,
Yep.
and because it's a small group, it's really not that large. I mean, maybe what,
It's not.
300 people or something like that, at most.
It I would venture to say that the upper echelon, the hundreds of millionaires and the billionaires, right? Like that's all a group. They are associated with each other the same way a middle-sized high school's sophomore class is, right?
Right.
You don't know anybody, but we're going to play Kevin Bacon's 6 degrees of association and you know their name, you can probably figure out what they look like, and you sure as shit have heard a rumor about every single fucking person in that high school. Because I know
Yes.
I didn't know too many people in high school, but if you said, hey, do you remember so and so from high school? I'd be like, well, I know the name.
Right.
So all of Lex Wessner's trying to play innocence is bullshit. And he fed the American people that want to believe that their person that's on the list is innocent. So they're going to shelter under Lex Wessner's stupid fucking deposition.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, if I have, ever since, I left my campaign and all that type of stuff and just kind of ventured out on my own, doing my own little thing. Um, I mean, noticing the tribalism that goes on in this country, I mean, it's sickening. I don't know how we get past it because it is like such a natural human instinct to be that way,
Hmm.
and so I don't know how we get past it because I mean people are willing to, and I've seen this, and if you don't look at my posts on X, I mean, I hit the right, I hit the left, I hit trans, I hit straight, I hit, all sorts of shit. Because what I'm doing is I'm just looking for bullshit.
Right.
And so I'm calling out the bullshit with all of these different groups. And I'll tell you what, the ones that are the true believers, they're the ones that'll get on there and argue all day. You
Hmm.
know, now, that's not me, I won't argue with them, but other people will come in and argue with them, and I, see the responses and stuff. So,
It,
it's like, get out of your head, open your mind. There is more to this story than who's your team favorite.
yeah. This isn't grade school tag. You're not picking your bestie. And I have a very hard time when the Trump supporters who are still supporting him, despite the fact that victims, plural, have accused him of horrific things, have said that they've seen him doing horrific things. I have a very hard time when they use the bullshit excuses of, well, that's just an allegation. It's something that people don't understand that they absolutely fucking need to understand. Federal Rule of Evidence 413 holds that where you are accused of doing a particular sexual crime in a subsequent trial, whether you were just accused of it, whether you were found not guilty by a jury, whether you were found civilly liable but no criminal trial was held, as long as someone has said you did this and it is similar in nature to the current thing that you were on trial for, that evidence comes in, even if it was just an accusation. That evidence comes in, and it's one of the few times that evidence can be used as propensity. So Trump, because a girl filed a civil lawsuit that described the disgusting things that you did to her, guess what? If any one of these other women wants to try and come after you, or heaven forbid, you actually get put in a criminal trial for these Epstein files, that little girl's declaration that was filed in court, that's absolutely coming in as evidence against you. So people say, oh, it's just an accusation. It's just this. It's just that. Bullshit, motherfucker. That is the one time a prosecutor can bring that in and use it against you. And you have to try and defend against it. Point blank fucking period.
Right.
You know?
Well, I,
And
I, I think that because there haven't been any convictions, and this is just me, I'm not making excuses. This is just me stepping into my own head and my own rationale. The fact that there hadn't been any convictions over this gives you that little bit of leeway of deniability. It's like, well, maybe it was somebody just going after him for his money or something like that. You can
well,
lie yourself into this stuff. I mean, I'm sure you've done it yourself. I know that I have done it, obviously, in this case. You even though there are other examples of extremely crude behavior and stuff like that, you know, um, you can kind of convince yourself, as long as they're saying the right things, that they're okay. And I think that that is where this has been the most freeing for me, is I'm kind of leaving that thought process behind. It's kind of freeing because I'm starting to just see shit for what it is, as opposed to trying to justify shit in my head, because I came up with the justification. And I think that that's the whole thing, Sasha. I mean, a lot of these people are justifying it because there is no conviction against him.
it, and that's what they're trying. Or they're trying to say that being adjudicated as the perpetrator of a sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll, well, that's not criminal. That doesn't mean he did it. They lied. Excuse me, motherfucker?
Well, yeah,
He
I
is an
never.
adjudicated sexual abuser. Point blank, period. So,
Right,
way back, anytime anybody says, well, how come the FBI didn't release this when Biden was president? Blah, 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 blah. If Trump really was guilty, the Biden DOJ would have released this. Well, one motherfucker, Merrick Garland, was in charge of the DOJ then, and he's in these files himself. So,
right,
no, Biden's DOJ is not going to release it because Merrick Garland's not going to release it on himself. That's just not going to fucking happen. Right. But there was a massive lawsuit that was going on throughout Trump's presidency. And it's that lawsuit that kind of launched Epstein into national news and made everybody nationally aware of this. I'm trying to see. I know that I had written about what it was here in my timeline, and God help me, I'm not finding those initials other than that one time that I used it. But
It
it
is.
was a bunch of
Oh, I was just going to
huh?
say, it is so funny that we're really finding out more information because of Trump's, incompetency, I guess.
So I found it. Starting in 2009, from 2009 to 2017, there was a lawsuit going on about these Epstein files. A bunch of the
Right.
victims had brought this lawsuit, right? And it had to do, I believe, there we go. It was the Crime Victims' Rights Act. A bunch of the victims were suing the federal government because of Epstein's short stint and because 4 of the women that were originally co-conspirators were listed instead as victims and they weren't prosecuted. Federal prosecutors never told the victims. Under the Crime Victims' Rights Act, if I'm a victim and my accuser, you're not going to charge him or something like that, you have to tell me. I have to have a chance to fight that, right?
Hmm.
So in 2008, all the victims that were known at that time amongst themselves, they filed a lawsuit because of that act, saying that federal prosecutors broke the law when they made the non-prosecution agreement without their consent, right? So that whole lawsuit is just boiling from 2008 to 2017, right? Who became president in 2017?
Barack Obama. Oh, wait. I'm
No.
sorry. Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump.
Donald
I forgot.
Trump.
I'm sorry.
So,
I'm not looking at the timeline right now. I would have known then. I'm sorry.
so Trump became president in 2017, right? He ain't gonna release this shit because he's
No.
getting wind that this is about to blow up and he's trying to kick that can farther down the road. So,
Yeah.
yeah, at this point, starting in 2016 to 2017, that's when a bunch of these victims who are noticing that their abusers are all of a sudden slotted to become the fucking president again, right? Now they start dropping names. This person did this. This person did that. This person did this, right? All of these things. Oddly enough, a lot of the complaints are geared against Trump. Um,
Right.
it because of this lawsuit, right? So February 2019, U.S. District Judge Kenneth Mara ruled in favor of the victims. So now we've got to go back down to the district court level, and now we're going to hash this out in a lawsuit. And that lawsuit continued until 2020, July 2nd, 2020, when Maxwell was finally charged with her crimes, right? Once you charge Maxwell, all of that shit is broiling. Can't release files because there's still investigations going on. We're going to
Hmm.
roll forward. And it wasn't until Maxwell was sentenced and those files didn't become protected. They lost their protection from, having lawsuits, keeping them hidden,
Uh,
that people started to really demand what's going on, what the fuck is happening. People started finding court filings that are public record that named Trump, that named Jeffrey Epstein, that named Ghislaine, all these things, and started pulling that out. Um, and then Trump ran on it in 2024. I'm going to release these files. You were already president, Jack Dick. You could have blown the lid on this the first time you were president, but you didn't. You knew about this. He could have walloped the Democrats in the campaign by, I don't know, saying that, Biden nominated Merrick Garland for attorney general because he knew Merrick Garland was in the files and was going to keep it all a secret. Come on, be creative with your bullshit, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like he's trying to do it in some sort of controlled way that maybe when the information about him actually does become a little bit more public, because so far there isn't exactly a smoking gun in the Epstein files, as far as I am aware of, with Trump. It just kind of makes me wonder, if he's trying to set himself up for some sort of plausible deniability. I hate having to keep
It
saying that, but it kind of makes me wonder if that's what he's doing. I mean, I don't know. It's just a guess.
he he said that he stopped being friends with Jeffrey in the super early 2000s. I have it somewhere on this damn timeline. I'm just going to share the timeline so whoever's listening can go and look at it themselves. Here it is. In 2004, Trump claimed that he stopped being friends with Epstein because Epstein stole employees from Mar-a-Lago. You
Mm.
employed young girls. You knew Epstein was involved in stealing these young girls.
Right.
Then
And then
flash
later on, he
forward,
admitted,
then he said I wasn't friends with him because there was a business deal gone bad. And that's what he told Clinton. That's what Clinton testified that Trump told him. Trump told me that they stopped being friends because Epstein ended up, undercutting him on a business deal. Then Trump also said, I kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago because I knew he was a perv. And then MAGA
right.
somehow gets it up their butt that he's an FBI informant and all of this shit. Stop being stupid. Just stop it.
Well, I mean that is kind of my interesting perspective. It's like right now, just sitting back and watching the shit show is great. I mean, pop some popcorn, kids. Is going to be fantastic over the next few weeks, I'm
It
sure.
it's a nightmare, you know? Ultimately, at the end of the day, if a girl makes an accusation, I believe the girl. That's just what it boils down to. Because girls are not
I,
going to make up this horrible shit.
I don't know that I have, because I think that's actually a good way to be. But and of course you're a girl, so of course you know way more about what it is to be a girl than I ever will. But I haven't quite gotten to that knee jerk reaction yet. You know, as far as like instantly believing, I kind of still want to hear a little bit from both sides before I start kind of like thinking things. Now, as far as the Trump stuff is concerned, yeah, he's a slimy prick. I mean, so I'm not talking about that. I'm not defending that. Um, but just in general, the type of thing that you're thinking about, I don't know what'll get me to that point where I do have that just kind of knee jerk reaction. It's like, nope, instantly believing the woman. Right now, I can't get myself there, and I'm not sure why. Uh,
It, I have been a girl at work, right? Because this shit happens everywhere. You're at
yeah.
work and some guy, who has a little more power than you, even if it's just seniority in a position, will
Mhm.
make a comment about tits and everybody laughs. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
that's not
fuck.
cool. That shit's not
I
cool.
I can't go against that because I'm the new girl. Ha,
Yeah.
that's a funny comment about my tits. Ha, right? I've been the girl at a party that we're all drinking. I don't want to kiss anybody. I get kissed. And if I shove you off and make a scene, I automatically know that I'm going to get the blame. Why are you making such a big to do about this? We're all drunk. We're having a good time. He didn't mean
Oh
anything by
God.
it.
Right.
So when you have heard he didn't mean anything by it for decades, any other time a girl says, this person grabbed my tit, I believe you. He grabbed your tit. I absolutely fucking believe you because, girl, I have been there, done that. I've had people randomly grab me, and you can't do shit about it because of just how people treat women. You just can't.
Well, I mean, I haven't had it happen multiple times, but I did have something happen to me, which might give me a place to kind of start thinking about this from. Um, all right, audience, call this therapy for Chris. Uh, oh, I did have this situation at one point in time where I this woman kept trying to hit on me, and I told her that I was there with my boyfriend and she saw him and everything, but she kept being persistent. And then she finally decided that she was going to grab my crotch. It is the one and only time in my life I struck a woman.
Good
I
for
didn't
you.
punch. Yeah, I didn't punch her or anything like that because I mean, I'm a big guy. I lay most women out flat. So, but I slapped her pretty damn hard. And she's like, you motherfucker. And I'm like, don't touch me, bitch.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
anyway, so I was just, I guess I can kind of get that because I mean, I did not like that. I did not like that at all. I did not like to be objectified like that. I mean, if I'm a
Mhm.
fucking porn star or a exotic dancer or something like that, then no, you can't expect any different. But I am not those
Mm,
things. Well, I'm
even
talking
if you
about at
are,
least in those roles. In those roles,
but even in those roles, you know, if you're a porn star on some porn set, there is one person that you have consented to have sexually touch you on that set.
right?
And that's the
True.
person you're doing the scene with. That does not
Right.
give the director any kind of go ahead to grab your
W
boob, grab your butt,
well
kiss
well,
you,
my
do whatever.
probably my better example was the exotic dancers. You can't control what the audience is gonna do necessarily. I think that that's what I'm talking about. It's like, I don't know.
It
It's like, how do you control that sort of shit? I don't know.
so and I think again too, if you're an exotic dancer up on the stage, when you're on the stage, people are putting money on the stage. That's not an okay to stand up out of your chair, reach onto the stage, smack her ass, grab her tit. No,
Yeah. Oh, no, no, no.
that's
I
not
I
what she's
agree
doing.
I agree with that
She's
too.
showing.
It's a little different in gay male bars that I've been to where that goes on. The touching and stuff like that is, like, way more acceptable. So I guess that's what I'm
Oh,
kinda
see,
thinking of.
yeah, no. But now put yourself in put yourself in a woman's shoes,
Right,
and if the roles were reversed, right? If I was saying, I'm telling this guy that's hitting on me, no, I'm here with my girlfriend or I'm here with my wife, blah, 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 trying to get him to nicely go away, and he grabbed my crotch, 95% of people in this country would say, well, were you flirting with him? Maybe you were unintentionally flirting with him.
no
Maybe you
way,
just
really? You
smiled.
think that people would
Yes.
actually oh my god, that's
Yes.
gross. Yeah, that's
And
gross because, I mean,
I
I
will
certainly wasn't flirting with that bitch when she touched my crotch.
I will give a TMI, right? When I was little, I was so okay, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna say this and not get us flagged on any of our sites. When I was little, I was assaulted.
Mhm.
And when I say little, I mean like 5. Little, little.
Oh, hon, we haven't really
I
talked about this.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
I clearly remember hearing my mom talk to the detective about what do we do now? Like, she's come forward, she's told you guys over and over and over what happened to her. What do we do now?
Right.
I will never forget, and I am as forgetful as they come. I will never forget hearing that male detective tell my mom, well, we could go to the DA with this and see if the DA wants to take it to trial, but juries just don't believe little girls. Don't know what the rest of the conversation was. I will never forget him saying, juries don't believe little girls.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it hits home for
And
me because
these are supposed to be the cops that protect little girls. And they told my mom, juries don't believe little girls.
and maybe he was
You
being
know?
honest. Maybe he wasn't really
It
being the prick. He was just like,
it
hey, this is
no.
just the honest
Yeah, that's
situation.
yeah. I mean, he very likely was coming from the position of, do we really want to keep making her do this over and over and over and then sit in front of the person that did this to her and talk about it with that person staring at her, when at the end of the day, juries aren't likely to believe her? But
Yeah.
that's what this country is, Chris.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what this country is.
yeah, I mean, just based on that and just knowing my dad's past as a cop and stuff like that, I think that cop was actually probably trying to look out for you.
I
Um,
am sure he was.
yeah.
I am sure he was. But
But it's
that's what
sad
this
that that's
country
how
is.
he has to, yeah, it's sad that that's how he has
Yeah.
to look out for you, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that these issues are probably touchier issues for both of us. I mean, I haven't made a secret about the fact that I was sexually assaulted when I was 5 as well. Um, but so a lot of the stuff dealing with kids, I don't know. I'm really liking Nancy Mace talking about death penalty for journalists.
I'm for it.
I'm all
I
down
am
with
for it.
it.
I am for it. People that do this to kids, there is no rehabilitating you. There just
I
isn't.
don't think
But
so. I just don't think
no.
so. I mean, and it's like off in the like really dark recesses of the far left, you hear the people talking about maps, minor attracted people.
Oh
And
God.
this is mostly academia where it's happening, but it's happening in far left academia. And it's very clear that they are really trying to get it uh acceptable to be a minor attracted person as long as you just don't act on it. And I'm just sitting here thinking, it's like, I don't know, I'm sorry, but if that is, I consider myself a pretty sane person. And if I ever started having those kinds of thoughts, I would figure that the best recourse for me would be to get out my 9 millimeter and stick it in my mouth.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
seriously. So,
absolutely.
you know, I think that yeah, so seeing that type of stuff, really bothers me because we have this sickness that I'm talking about on the far left, but then you also have all sorts of other forms of sickness as well. But we definitely need to get a handle on this stuff. You
Mhm.
know, before we've got a bunch of academics out there influencing the next generation of kids that minor attracted people are okay. That's just, I'm not cool with that.
I don't I don't know that the far reaching, the very ends of this whole spectrum, I don't know if it will ever come to that. I would vote for a Republican before I ever said that that was okay,
Yeah, yeah, and yeah,
you know?
for sure, because
So on that
it's
very
like,
depressing note,
Yeah, I know that is depressing, and I am sorry, guys. It's just, I mean, because we were talking about this, it just reminded me of something that dealing with the fact that I do handle situations related to kids and stuff like that. I have obviously done some research into this, and I was appalled that the very far reaches of the far left were down with this type of shit. And I was just like, oh, this is insane. What the fuck are you guys doing? So I felt like I had to bring it up.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I will definitely look at it more. Um, on that very depressing note, now that you've had some therapy and I've had some therapy, and
Right?
given given the MAGA bots some ammo, I'm
Oh,
surprised I
yeah.
haven't seen any comments that are like, "Oh, septum ring theory." I'm surprised I haven't seen that shit. But definitely giving them that ammo. I think that we have done a very good broad overview with Epstein, and we'll come back in a few weeks and do another broad overview. Hopefully they
Yeah.
get Bondi up there in this time span, because they subpoenaed her to answer for how she's handled these files and how she's handled the whole release of it.
Well,
But
she
the
had it
Dow is
all
at
on her desk.
500,000.
She had
But
it
the
all on
Dow,
her desk.
but the Dow,
But
but
the
the
Dow,
Dow,
but the Dow.
but the
Yeah, I gotta
Dow.
worry about that. Yeah, I gotta worry about that money. That
God.
tells you right there. That tells you right there, right?
So, all right, guys. Thank you for checking in with us midweek. We will, of course, release our regularly scheduled program, because I've got a good long old agenda for that one too. We will see you guys again with our normal scheduled programs. Thank you from us at Political Malpractice. Have a great week. Chris, you got
Take
anything to
care,
say?
everybody. Just
Bye,
take
guys.
care, everybody. God bless.
If you or someone you know has been affected by sexual assault, help is available. You can contact the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit rain.org.
If you want a second opinion or just something to rage about, hit that button and subscribe. This has been Political Malpractice.